Eddie has been stuck at home for quite a while now. Ever since the full-on lockdown started about a month and a half ago, he hasn't stepped outside. Around that time, he met a girl, but when he opened his eyes, she was gone. As he wandered around the apartment, he found a note from his parents asking him to pay the rent. Suddenly, someone started screaming and banging on a door in the hallway. Thinking it was nothing, Eddie turned on the TV only to find every channel was out. Then, an emergency alarm went off across the city. People were running. A helicopter crashed right into the buildings. One girl begged others to help her, but seconds later, she turned violent and attacked them. That is when Brandon burst into Eddie's apartment, saying his best friend had just attacked him out of nowhere, completely losing it. The news finally came on. A strange virus had broken out, turning people into zombies. One bite or scratch was all it took. Eddie immediately realized things were bad. He shoved Brandon out into the hallway just in time to watch him turn into a zombie and try to attack him. But he failed. There was no way to leave now, so Eddie sat back down and watched the TV. Authorities urged people to stay inside and wait for further instructions. He tried calling his parents, but the connection was terrible. At least he got a message. They were looking for his sister, but due to the poor signal, they didn't know if she was alive. Eddie tried calling again, then just sat and stared out the window. He scratched a day count into the mirror, 6 days locked inside. TV hosts talked about how isolation affects the human mind. To keep himself sane, Eddie recorded a video diary describing how he felt. But the constant screaming from infected people outside was driving him nuts. Another week passed. Eddie taped up the windows. People were now reporting that the infected could speak, sometimes saying disturbing things. Someone knocked on his door, but he ignored it. 2 days later, the water stopped running. The food was almost gone too. Just as he wondered what to do, zombies came crawling in through the vents. Grabbing a bat, Eddie went on the attack and took them out. He blocked off the vents just to be safe. Day 42. Supplies for only a couple more days. He had to go out, but he was terrified. Then another message came in from his parents. They still hadn't found his sister, and now they were trapped in their office. The message cut off with screams. The infected had found them. Needing to blow off steam 2, Eddie stepped into the hallway, but there were too many zombies, and he ran. He lured them downstairs and took a different staircase back to his place. That evening, the power went out too. All hope seemed lost, until he saw a living girl in the building across the way. But then her building was overrun by zombies. Eddie quickly wrote a few notes to try and connect with her. She noticed him and replied. Her name was Eva. She was out of water too, but thankfully, it started raining. They could collect water and even clean up a bit. She kept watching him from her window. The next day, Eddie came up with a plan, ran a rope between their balconies and sent her some water. But right then, a leaping infected showed up, trying to grab Eva. Eddie threw something and nailed a perfect shot, saving her, but now the zombie was coming for him. Meanwhile, another zombie was trying to break down his door. Eddie had to push the fridge against it. One of them smashed through the window, knocking himself out cold. Eddie ran to the balcony and finished the job. Some blood splashed on his face. He wiped it off, hoping he hadn't been infected. He went to grab Brandon's keys, but zombies appeared. Eddie played dead and, surprisingly, it worked. They ran past him. He hid in Brandon's apartment and started looting. There was a good stash of food and even climbing gear. Then he remembered Brandon's story about his friend attacking him, and walked right into a trap. He almost died, but the zombie couldn't bite through his clothes. He grabbed everything useful and went back home, checking himself for wounds. Looking through the peephole, he saw some infected still searching for him. Among Brandon's stuff, there were 2 walkie-talkies. After catching his breath, Eddie climbed down to Eva's building and tossed her one. Then he snuck back. Next day, Eva found the walkie, and they could finally talk. Eddie, inspired by the zombie in the vents, realized he could use the ducts to sneak into other apartments. While crawling, he found a long dead zombie and a stash of supplies in a random apartment. He told Eva, but she was done waiting. She decided to come over to his balcony. Eddie approached the door of the apartment he found. There was a fridge, someone was living there. He turned and saw Edward, who had literally smashed through the wall to get inside. Edward said the original owner was dead and offered Eddie some real food, not just canned stuff, but actual meat. That didn't raise red flags for Eddie, until it was too late. Edward attacked him from behind. When Eddie came to, he was tied up. Edward was completely nuts, planning to feed Eddie to his zombified wife. He even offered him pills to make it painless. Eddie accused him of feeding the neighbor, Jenny, to her. Edward said he tried, but for some reason, she wouldn't eat the corpse, only the living. That is why Eddie was still alive. Hearing Eva's voice, Edward left to investigate. Eddie took the chance, broke free, and shoved Edward into the arms of his undead wife, who tore into him. By then, Eva's apartment was overrun. Eddie ran for his own place, but couldn't get in. The fridge was still blocking the door. He hid in Brandon's again, tied up some bedsheets, and climbed down, landing hard. The crash drew attention. But luck was on his side again. There was a loaded shotgun right next to him. The noise brought more zombies, but Eva threw down more bedsheets. Eddie climbed up and cut the rope to lose the infected. Eva joined him. They headed for the hallway but didn't notice zombies breaking through. On the stairs, Eddie tried to break a doorknob with his bat, but it snapped. A zombie attacked them from above. Eva tried to help but accidentally shoved Eddie off the ledge. Zombies swarmed him but his Kevlar clothes saved his life. Their buildings were connected, so Puro, a nickname, helped him get back to his own. They worked together perfectly, fighting off zombies and climbing to Eddie's floor. Eva made it to the apartment first, but Eddie was attacked. The zombie went for Eva too, but Eddie pulled him away. A few minutes later, Eddie came inside. He stood on the balcony, ready to jump but realized he still didn't have a single scratch. The movie ends with the couple holding the fridge against the door as zombies try to break in, and of course, don't forget to like the video. We'll be back soon. See ya.